Welcome to AI for the People. You tuned into, well, AI debates. And today, we're diving into a question that's, honestly, it's sparking some pretty fiery discussions pretty much everywhere. Is generative AI a threat to creativity? Or could it actually be a tool for innovation? I, I'm excited to unpack this with you today because, honestly, I'm still trying to figure out where I stand on all of this myself.
Yeah, I think what makes this so fascinating is that we aren't talking about some hypothetical future scenario here.
Right.
These tools like OpenAI Sora for video or Meta's Make a Video, they're just exploding in popularity. You see them everywhere now, from casual social media posts all the way up to professionally produced content. So it's really changing the creative landscape in a big way.
It really is. And that's what makes it so compelling, right? It feels like everyone's either experimenting with these tools or debating their merits, or maybe even feeling a little apprehensive about their potential impact. I mean, think about it. We're talking about AI that can create realistic images, videos, even music just from a text prompt. That's a huge shift in how we think about creative work.
Absolutely. And that power is really at the heart of this whole debate. Some people are incredibly excited about the possibilities. They see it as democratizing creativity, making these once exclusive tools available to, well, anyone with an internet connection. But on the other side, you have those who worry about the potential downsides, like will AI erode originality or displace human artists, or even be used to spread misinformation through things like deepfakes?
Okay, so let's dive into the arguments a little bit first. Let's hear from the folks who are excited about generative AI.
Yeah.
A major point in their favor is efficiency. Imagine being a creator and suddenly having AI to handle all those tedious, repetitive tasks that used to eat up so much of your time. It's like having an army of digital interns working around the clock, freeing you up to focus on the big picture conceptual side of things.
Yeah, and it's not just about time saving, though. Think about a graphic designer who normally spends hours meticulously removing a background from an image. Now with AI, that task can be done in seconds, right? Allowing the designer to iterate on different ideas, experiment with various compositions, and ultimately refine their vision in a way that just wasn't feasible before.
But speaking of graphic design, there's this new Adobe tool, Object on Path, that's making waves. It can automate complex design tasks that previously required years of training.
So it does make you wonder, as these tools become more sophisticated, what happens to the human experts? Is there a risk of certain creative jobs becoming, well, obsolete? Yeah. It's a very valid concern and one we need to address for sure, but I think, while efficiency is a major advantage, perhaps even more revolutionary is the accessibility generative AI offers. Think about tools like DALL-E for images or Synthesia for video. They're putting incredibly powerful creative technologies into the hands of everyday people. Regardless of their background or technical expertise, you don't need years of training or expensive software to create stunning visuals anymore.
That's a really powerful idea, that anyone, anywhere can bring their creative visions to life. And it's not just theoretical, right? There are already tangible examples of this happening. There was a small marketing agency that went viral with a campaign built entirely on AI-generated videos. They managed to achieve a huge impact, while saving something like 80% of their budget compared to traditional video production.
Yeah, and the impact on music is fascinating as well. We're seeing musicians using AI to compose personalized tracks, experiment with new sounds and styles, and even break through creative blocks. Imagine an AI analyzing your listening habits, and then suggesting melodies or harmonies you wouldn't have thought of, pushing your creative boundaries, right? So, could this be the future of music production? A seamless blend of human artistry and algorithmic assistance?
It's exciting to consider all the possibilities, right? It feels like this technology has the potential to unlock so much creativity. But, of course, like with any powerful tool, there are concerns about the potential downsides of generative AI.
Yeah.
Those are definitely worth exploring, too.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest criticisms you hear about all this is authenticity. Can AI, even with all of its processing power and
Oh, man.
algorithms, can it really capture the emotional depth, the unique perspective, soul, you could say, of a human artist? It's a question that keeps coming up, right?
Right.
If AI is essentially just mimicking patterns and styles, is it truly creating something new? Or is it just a really sophisticated form of imitation?
Right, and that kind of leads to a bigger question, I think. What do we lose? If art becomes purely algorithmic, what happens to the human experience, the imperfections, the raw emotion? That makes art so relatable and powerful. I think it's a question that a lot of artists and critics are really grappling with right now.
This is where it gets really interesting, though, because it's not just critique.
Yeah.
Like an abstract debate about the nature of art. There are like
Yeah.
real-world consequences to consider, especially when it comes to, jobs and livelihoods. Think about graphic designers, video editors, musicians. These are all professions that could be significantly impacted by the rise of MOUT, AI-generated content.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we've already seen AI automating tasks in other industries, so
Yeah.
it's not hard to imagine a future where AI is, designing websites, creating logos, even composing film scores, right? And that raises the question, what happens if that happens? What happens to the skilled humans who currently do those jobs?
Right. The fear of job displacement it's a big one. Some people argue that AI will create new jobs and opportunities that we can't even imagine yet. But honestly, it's also possible that the transition will be difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that this isn't just about economics, right? It's about the value we place on human creativity and artistry. I read a quote from an AI ethicist, Dr. James Lee. That really resonated with me. He said, AI can mimic creativity, but it can't replicate the human experience. We risk losing the soul of art.
Yeah, that's a powerful thought. It really speaks to that, deeper fear that many people have about AI, the fear that we'll lose something essential, something uniquely human if art becomes just another commodity churned out by algorithms.
Precisely.
Oh.
And then there's another concern that I think often gets overlooked, homogenization. If everyone starts using the same AI tools to create, will everything start to look and sound the same? Will we lose the diversity of styles and unique voices that make art so interesting and vibrant?
Yeah, like if every musician started using the same AI-powered songwriting tool, every song on the radio could end up sounding the same, right? Where's the room for individuality, for experimentation, for those happy accidents that lead to truly groundbreaking art?
Exactly. I think it's crucial to consider those unintended consequences as well. And of course, we can't ignore the potential for misuse. We've already seen the emergence of, deep fakes, AI-generated videos that can be incredibly convincing and are often used to spread misinformation.
That's right. And as these AI tools become more sophisticated and more accessible, it raises some serious ethical concerns. How do we ensure that they're being used responsibly?
Yeah, it's a really complex issue, and the ethical implications of AI, especially in the creative realm, I think are only just beginning to be explored. But those conversations are absolutely essential.
Absolutely. So we've heard the arguments for and against generative AI. We've explored the potential benefits and the potential pitfalls.
Okay.
But now I'm curious, where does this leave us? What's the bigger picture here?
Well, I think it's crucial to remember that technology is rarely inherently good or bad. It's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for creative or destructive purposes. I think the question is, what kind of future do we want to create with this technology?
That's the million-dollar question.
Sounds like that.
Those possible futures. On one hand, we could see a world where AI empowers individual creators, fosters greater access to creative tools, and fuels a wave of innovation. But on the other hand, we could face a future where AI leads to job displacement, a homogenized artistic landscape, and even the potential erosion of trust in what we see and hear.
Yeah, and it's a global conversation too, right? Different countries are approaching AI development and regulation in different ways. The U.S. is pushing for rapid adoption while the EU is prioritizing ethical guidelines and safeguards. China is using AI to control narratives and promote state-sanctioned creativity.
It's a complex landscape
It's
with
nice.
no easy answers,
No
but
reason.
it's a conversation we definitely need to be having. It really feels like we're at a crossroads here, doesn't it? The path we choose,
Yeah.
both individually and as a society. It's really going to determine how AI shapes the future of creativity.
Yeah, and I think what's so striking to me is that there really are no easy answers here. This isn't a simple case of AI good or, AI bad. It's about understanding all the nuances, the trade-offs, the potential consequences of it, each choice we make.
And that's why we wanted to have this conversation with you, our listeners.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we choose to use it, right? It's about having these informed discussions, considering all the different perspectives, and making conscious decisions about the role we want AI to play in our lives.
Yeah, totally. So, as you continue to explore this fascinating and rapidly evolving world of generative AI, I really encourage you to keep asking questions, challenge assumptions, experiment with the tools, but do so thoughtfully and critical.
Don't be afraid to share your voice. What are your thoughts on this whole debate? Do you see AI as a threat or an opportunity? Join the conversation online using hashtag AI creativity and hashtag human vs AI. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, because after all, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left thinking about a brand new AI tool that's just been released. It's pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible in terms of like generative art. And it raises even more questions about the future of creativity. But
We'll have to save that deep dive for another day.
until then, stay curious, stay creative, and keep those AI debates going.